Hi, I'm here with the Mass readings for Sunday, February 14th, 2021. Today we celebrate the sixth Sunday in Ordinary Time, a reading from the book of Leviticus. The Lord said to Moses and Aaron, "If someone has on his skin a scab or pustule or blotch, which appears to be the sore of leprosy, he shall be brought to Aaron, the priest, or to one of the priests among his descendants. If the man is leprous and unclean, the priest shall declare him unclean by reason of the sore on his head. The one who bears the sore of leprosy shall keep his garments rent and his head bare, and shall muffle his beard. He shall cry out, 'Unclean, unclean.' As long as the sore is on him, he shall declare himself unclean, since he is in fact unclean. He shall dwell apart, making his abode outside the camp." The word of the Lord. The responsorial psalm. Today's responsorial psalm is Psalm number 32. The response is, "I turn to you, Lord, in time of trouble, and you fill me with the joy of salvation. I turn to you, Lord, in the time of trouble, and you fill me with the joy of salvation. Blessed is he whose fault is taken away, whose sin is covered. Blessed the man to whom the Lord imputes no guilt, in whose spirit there is no guile. I turn to you, Lord, in time of trouble, and you fill me with the joy of salvation. Then I acknowledge my sin to you, my guilt I covered not. I said, I confess my faults to the Lord, and you took away the guilt of my sin. I turn to you, Lord, in time of trouble, and you fill me with the joy of salvation. Be glad in the Lord and rejoice, you just. Exult, all you upright of heart. I turn to you, Lord, in time of trouble, and you fill me with the joy of salvation. I turn to you, Lord, in time of trouble, and you fill me with the joy of salvation." A reading from the first letter of St. Paul to the Corinthians. Brothers and sisters, whether you eat or drink, or whatever you do everything for the glory of God, avoiding giving offense, whether to the Jews or Greeks or the Church of God, just as I try to please everyone in every way, not seeking my own benefit, but that of the many, that they may be saved. Be imitators of me, as I am of Christ. The word of the Lord. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to St. Mark, chapter 1, verse 40 to 45. A leper came to Jesus and, kneeling down, begged him and said, "If you wish, you can make me clean." Moved with pity, he stretched out his hand, touched him, and said to him, "I do will it. Be made clean." The leprosy left him immediately, and he was made clean. Then, warning him sternly, he dismissed him at once. He said to him, "See that you tell no one anything, but go, show yourself to the priest, and offer for your cleansing what Moses prescribed. That will be proof for them." The man went away and began to publicize the whole matter. He spread the report abroad, so that it was impossible for Jesus to enter a town openly. He remained outside, in deserted places, and people kept coming to him from everywhere. The Gospel of the Lord. Here are some thoughts on today's scripture. Apart from the appalling physical disintegration of body and limbs, there was the social ostracism, the contempt, and the fear which the victim engendered. The real pain and suffering were here. It seems the disease itself was for the most part not particularly painful. The signs for diagnosis are given in the first reading from the book of Leviticus. one of the books of the Jewish law. To our ears, they sound primitive indeed. If a swelling or scab or shining spot appears on a man's skin, a case of leprosy of the skin is to be suspected. This was clearly a very crude and arbitrary diagnosis, but such was the fear of the disease. It was a case of being safe rather than sorry. It was very hard, however, on a victim who in fact did not have leprosy at all. The scene in today's gospel occurs during a longer passage which describes the Sabbath day in the public life of Jesus. It involves Jesus going to the synagogue, healing the sick, and driving out evil spirits. Then this leper approaches Jesus. He is desperate. He falls on his knees before Jesus, his last resort. There is marvelous faith in his heart-rending appeal. If you want to, you can cure me. Jesus is filled with a deep sense of compassion for the man's plight. Jesus then does something very significant. He physically touches the leper to indicate his compassion. In doing so, he rendered himself ritually unclean, opened himself to the risk of contagion, but also expressed solidarity with the sick man. And we can ask ourselves today, what has our experience of knowing Jesus been like? How come we do not have the enthusiasm of this man? So much of our religious living is focused just on ourselves. It is perhaps worth noting that the man's experience was the result of having first been the victim of a terrible cross. It is often in our crosses that grace appears. Jesus was forced to go out into the desert to avoid the enthusiastic crowds. He was not interested in having fans, only genuine followers. He would not be ready until his full identity was recognized. That would only happen as he hung dying on the cross. Christ, have mercy on us. Thanks for listening. Have a blessed day.